Well, welcome back to the Lehocky Eagles postgame show as the Eagles lose today to the New Orleans Saints at home. Normally, this is a segment where we bring in Lane Johnson. Of course, Lane is hurt, and that's a topic that we're going to have to discuss a little later in the show. But it's also this segment brought to us by our good friends at JAKIB Waterproofing. It did rain a hell of a lot over the last couple of days. If it rained and your basement needs waterproofing, you call the great people at JAKIB Waterproofing. Make 2023 the year you get rid of that dampness in your basement with JAKIB Waterproofing. Proud partners of the postgame show and of the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, so let's I want to go over some things in the first half here that plays right into your point, Seth and Derek, about how they started this game. So the New Orleans Saints had a really simple game plan, but the Eagles, I think, knew they had to run the football for them to be involved in the game. The first play they run is a play action completion. So very interesting. They use play action, they get the completion, and then on that drive they convert 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 1. They get to the Eagles 19. That's where Sweat gets hurt, and then all of a sudden they stuff Taysom Hill on a 3rd and 3, and the Saints go for it, and he gets into the end zone 7-0. The Eagles' first drive, they run the same play action play. And he gets sacked. He gets sacked on a play action play, and then he gets chased out of the pocket on the second play. So the first two plays of the game are pass designs that don't work, forcing them into a 3rd and 17, and they go 3 and out, and that would be the pattern for the entire first half. Explain it.
Well, it's very simple. It's very simple in terms of the Eagles play soft coverage and allow them to catch all this underneath stuff. Okay, the Saints played man-to-man, forcing Minshew to pat the ball, which led to the sack and him rolling out of bounds and taking the loss as well. It's very simple. For the life of me, I just don't understand why Jonathan Gannon continues to play this soft coverage when you have Pro Bowlers on both corners. You have the luxury of having Pro Bowlers on both corners, and you want to play them 5 and 7 yards off the ball because you want to keep everything in front of you. Well, guess what happened? Because you kept everything in front of you, you allowed them to work their way down the field until they walked it in the end zone. It's embarrassing for a mediocre offense like the Saints to come out of the gate on the road in your backyard and put together a 15-play, 75-yard drive and chew up the first 8 minutes and 58 seconds on the clock in your backyard. And you know what they're going to do. The Wildcat is an integral part of the offense. On that first drive, they ran the Wildcats 6 times. 6 times. You know they're going to run it, and you still couldn't stop them. You still couldn't stop them.
Taysom Hill, by the way. All right, so now we go into the second half, and the Eagles finally get the Saints to punt. So they get a 3rd and 6, and they got Brandon Graham, who played well today, gets another sack. And they're at their own 10, but it's another 3 and out, which gives New Orleans really good field position to go up 10-0 on the long field goal by Will Lutz. But to me, the next time, I thought that the Saints really played into the Eagles' hands when they were afraid to try to punch it in again a little later in that quarter, and on a 4th and 2, and they settled for the field goal. And I go, okay, this is a team that is unsure of itself, very insecure team. They're now playing not to lose instead of to win the game.
Exactly.
And I thought the whole complexion of the game was going to change off of that, and it didn't.
To be honest,
I actually agreed. I agree with you. Take the points.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're the Saints, come on, man. When you're the Saints and you're playing at the level that you've been playing, you take the points. Okay?
What good is a 13-0 lead against an
offense? You take the points. You want to know why? Because the Eagles' offense hadn't proven one iota that they could do anything. So why would you leave points off the board?
Did you actually think you were going to keep the Eagles off the board the whole game?
I didn't.
I didn't either.
They did.
Well,
they scored 10
they played
points.
scared in that situation.
No. Listen, if your defense is playing at the level that they're playing at, okay, everybody wants to talk about complementary football and how you help, each other out offensively, defensively, and special teams wise, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you got the Philadelphia Eagles offense under wraps and you have an opportunity to go up 13 rather than 10, how deflating would it have been for your football team to now turn around and come out after halftime and only be up by 3 points, instead of still by 6, because you made the dumb decision to go for, 7 instead of the obvious 3 that's right there. And your opponent's offense hasn't even done anything. Your opponent's offense only had 1 first down in this.
Seth, listen, if I'm the Saints,
why would you do that?
If I'm the Saints and I'm playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and I know the Eagles are a team that's just ready to bust out, I'm not taking 3 there. 17-0 is a hell of a lot better than 13-0. But it worked for them. They wound up not scoring another point until that pick 6. They drug along this team with 13 points against the Eagles. That held up. Now, I know Minshew's the quarterback. I know the game plan. By accident, the Eagles should score in the 20s against that team. But listen, it didn't happen. So what do you want? What do you want from me?
You say what you want to say about the Saints, but as I told Seth and Mark Farzetta in the pregame show, the Saints have been one of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL this year, one of the biggest shockers for a negative reason. But their defense has kept them in just about every game. There's a reason why that Saints defense is only giving up like 21 points a game. They play their hearts out, okay? Their whole heartbeat is based on that defense. The offense has been a major problem for the Saints all year. They can't settle on a quarterback. Most of their weapons have been out. Michael Thomas has been out. Jarvis Landry has been out. They have been one-dimensional all year. Taysom Hill, Chris Olave, who, by the way, was coming off a major hamstring injury, he torched him in the first half, okay? So you have to play to your strength. Get what you can against a formidable Eagles defense in their backyard, hostile environment, and let our defense try to help us out as much as we can. That's exactly what happened for the Saints team. They had to rely on their defense. The defense is the strength of that team. And on top of that, as we said a moment ago, you could tell as the game unfolded, they were not worried about Gardner Minshew and the RPOs trying to take off and run. They focused on everything else, matching up against the Eagles wide receivers and doing enough to clog up the middle of the defense so Miles Sanders couldn't kill them. And it worked for them like a charm today.
Okay. The Saints in this game, I thought, were begging to be beaten. I just pointed out they took the field goal. Okay, you don't agree with that? They got the points on the board set. That's fine and dandy. And Dalton gets greedy and he throws that pick a little later. They gave them every opportunity to take control of this game, and the Eagles could not take control of the game. And that's the point I can't get past, because I thought this team, we have followed this team all year, and we had a certain reliability with them that they're not going to fall like this to this kind of a team. They had assumed this kind of an identity that we didn't think that could happen. So now that this has happened, what does this mean coming down the stretch? Are they now feeling a little bit insecure about themselves? Because they had a swagger early about how good they were. Where's the swagger now?
Well, the difference in the swagger is basically what you see in the guy who's standing behind center, okay? When you got a guy like Jalen Hurts who believes that, I can either, will my team to win by what I do, or I can get it to my playmakers and they can help us win. One way or the other, we're going to get it done. Okay. You saw in the Colts game, the offense tried everything that it could try. And in the fourth quarter, Jalen Hurts basically said, hey, everything that the coaches tried didn't work. Time for me to just take it over and go win the game. It's exactly what he went and did. Okay. Come on, man. At the end of the day, Gardner Minshew ain't that dude. He's not that dude, man. And he's not a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I don't care what those gurus out there say or what they think. He doesn't have the moxie. He doesn't have the even keeledness. He doesn't have the calmness to stand in the pocket under pressure. See, most people didn't pay attention to it last week, but most of his passes, he was backing up while he was throwing them because he's afraid to step in. One of the reasons why he sails so many balls is because he doesn't step into his throws. He just lets them go. You understand what I'm saying? So you ask what's the difference? Yeah, the team should be shaking a little bit after losing 2 in a row. But I think when number 1 steps in at quarterback next week, okay, and I guarantee you, they kept showing Jalen throughout the entire game. And I understand. I get it. I'm all for protecting the long-term viability of your potentially of your franchise quarterback, okay? But I would have played Jalen this week, gotten the win, and then rested him next week in the first round. I would have done it that way. I would have done it that way. Just put Jalen, be smart about it, okay? Because listen, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, okay? So I don't know how severe this injury actually was, okay? But when you play a third of the third quarter in the entire fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter is the best quarter that you play, and you got the shoulder injury, okay? I'm trying to figure out how bad it was. So now you're being overly cautious. Now I see Jalen Hurts running around at practice, and he's throwing the ball around at practice, okay? If you're able to do that, why not play him? Get the win, and then you talk to him about being smart, okay? Got to protect the shoulder. Got to do the right things, okay? Throw it away. Take the sack. Don't take any big hits, okay? You put those kind of seeds in his head. But listen, Gardner Minshew could not win this football game for this football team today, not the way the game was called, okay? And I know that people don't agree with my assertion about what they should have done with Jalen Hurts, but now think about the pressure situation.
Well, yeah, hold on to that thought.
Seth.
Hold on to that thought. That's going to be our diamond debate, and we're going to talk more about the Hurts situation. But let's look at the second half and what they got some momentum by kicking the field goal. Now, I would have liked to have seen a touchdown there, but at 13-3, what were you thinking? They finally had committed to a little bit of the run, and at 13-3, did you not expect that the Eagles were then going to get the offense rolling and win this game going away?
Absolutely. And I tweeted out when it got to 13-10, I said, Eagles have them right where they want them, because you could tell the Saints were playing not to win or not to lose, so to speak.
Yes.
I thought there was no question beyond a shadow of a doubt the Eagles were going to get enough points to win this game, because the Saints basically is settled on the defense winning this game for them. And they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Now, that call on Landon Dickerson, that penalty on him, that was one of the most bogus holding penalties I've ever seen in my life. That was a touchdown for Gainwell. They took that away from him. And then after that, they kept pedaling backwards. They kept shooting themselves in the foot. Okay? It's quite obvious this offense is not anywhere near as fluid with Jalen back there compared to Gardner Minshew back there. But based on what we saw last week of Gardner Minshew going down to Dallas, putting up 355 yards, I thought the offense would look similar to that, especially in the passing game. It looked nowhere close to that. So was it the execution? Was it the play calling? Or was it the scheme of the Saints that just totally discombobulated the entire Eagles offense?
See, D-Gun, I'll say this, okay? You can dispute when Jalen's in the game. Like, a couple of games back, he ran the ball 17 times, okay? You can dispute the play calling, because when you run RPO and read option, right, the quarterback is making the decision whether to give the ball or whether to keep it based upon what he's reading. There's no ambiguity here whatsoever with Gardner Minshew and what you saw today. This is solely on Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen's shoulders, because this is the game that they call. There was no read option there for Gardner Minshew to make an alternative decision, on the play. It's all play calling, So the difference with Jalen is, there's that level and there's that gray area of ambiguity when it comes to Jalen with the ball in his hand, because every single play he can either hand it off to Miles, he can throw it, or he can keep it and take off and run himself. Right. Okay? When you have Gardner Minshew in the game, everything that you call has to be, precise, and it has to be called with a purpose, and it has to be offensively coordinated in order for Gardner to be successful, because there's no decision making there for him other than the fact that when he goes through his read, that's it in a nutshell. So Mike, this is why I'm saying I put the majority of this onus, as bad as Gardner played, I put the majority of this onus squarely on Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen for how they call this football game and their inability to adjust after the second series.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't disagree with you. I was flabbergasted.
And Mike,
By the way, G-Gun, you're right. When they got to 13-10,
yes,
that's even that's even more where you're thinking, okay, the gate's gonna bust
absolutely.
now, and it just did not happen.
And Mike, I want to go back to the topic you brought up a moment ago. Seth brought up a moment ago about should Jalen Hurts have played or not in this game, because this was a debate across the region all week long. Should he have not played? If he was healthy enough to play, I truly believe they would have played him today. So I go back to what I said prior to that Dallas game. I began to wonder just how serious this injury is, okay? Because your coaching staff kept telling you, oh, he's making progress. And then all of a sudden people got jacked up when they saw him out on the practice field Thursday. But what we saw in a very minute form was him throwing soft, short passes. We didn't see him loaded up and throw deep balls, okay? And the media is out of it by that time, so they don't get to see a whole lot of that. So you have a medical staff. You have a trainer staff who has worked with him all week trying to get this thing right. The fact that he didn't step on the field today tells me that, we think he needs just a little bit more time before we let him turn him loose again. We've got to roll the dice, and hopefully against two opponents, they should have done Dallas and the Saints. We believe with what we have on both sides of the football that we can get this thing done, and it's backfired on them. I don't fault them for not playing Jalen today, because for all the people who are out there screaming, you should have played. Now, and I'm not saying you, Seth, because I've been going back and forth with this. But the people out there, you should play him. Well, what happens if he takes another direct hit on that shoulder and he gets drilled into the ground on his shoulder? All of a sudden, he's set back 3 additional weeks. You don't have him for the first playoff game. Same people screaming, why did you put that man in harm's way? In this case, I can question a lot of things about their coaching staff and that organization. But they knew the magnitude of this game. They know they need this one more game just to wrap this thing up and then let your regular sit. The fact that you kept the engine who makes that offense go out of this game tells me that he was not 100% ready to go, and they did not want to put him in harm's way today. Now, unfortunately, you got to play him next week. You have to play him in that game next week now.
All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back and talk more about that with the Diamond debate, because it is a major issue. And we didn't think that we were going to have to talk about this issue, but this game has now put that into play, like just in boldface. So we'll talk about that. It's the Upon Lehocky Eagles postgame show. The Eagles lose today. Yes, if you're just tuning in from your New Year's celebration, they lost at home in mild temperatures to the New Orleans Saints, a result that we didn't think was going to happen. So we'll continue to talk about that. We'll debate the Jalen Hurts situation with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner. I'm Mike Missinelli, the Eagles postgame show, brought to us by Upon Lehocky. And we're on remote today, by the way. I'm not at Ocean Casino. We're doing the show remote. So happy New Year to everybody, and hope everybody had a good New Year's Eve and a peaceful New Year's Day. Back after this.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.